This is not Scoop and not Ian, but it is Brew Crew Cole and Brew Crew Dr. Ryan. Ryan, welcome. Willkommen. I got a flat brim on, so I can do my best Scoop impression. So if you can just be real grumpy and wear a plastic Brewers hat, you can be Kean, and then we'll be off and running.
Well, you're acting like it's a downgrade that I'm here over those two. So
Well, or Kean, but all right. So Brewers 4-1 out of the break. Just wrapped up the Wednesday game against the Cubbies down at AmFam South. Got a nice dub on Hector Neris in the top of 9, I believe, and got it done. So I'll run through the breakdown of games since we last talked. Saturday, I didn't really like that we didn't play on Friday. Kind of had some FOMO of all the other teams getting back to baseball, and we had to wait to play the Twins, who I'm not. Would you consider the Twins a rival? I know they like say they are, and they make it seem like they are, and it's our interleague rival, but I don't know.
yeah, no, I'll give it to him.
All right. Well, we gave it to them. That game, it's kind of funny when you look at the final scores, 8-4 and 8-7. You would think the 8-7 game was the extra inning game, but it was not. So Saturday was a 12-inning game. Freddy went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 Ks, shutout versus Pablo Lopez, who also had a strong performance. After 9, it was 1-1. And in top of 11, the Brewers scored 2. Bottom 11, former Brewer Carlos Santana answered with a 2-run homer. And then in the 12th, we busted it open. Main kind of standouts from that game was William Contreras went 2 for 6 with an RBI. Bryce Strang had 3 RBI. Willie Adames went 2 for 4, and Jackson Chourio went 3 for 5 with a run and 2 RBIs. Also worth noting, in that first game back after the break, when the whole discussion was going into the break was the Brewers overusing their bullpen. Due to it being 12 innings, we had 7 guys throw. So good start getting all those arms back and active. Sunday, somewhat new Brewer, Aaron Savali had a tough outing, and 5 earned, 4 hits, 4 walks, 4 Ks. I think he only went like 4 1/3. I didn't write that down, but after he gave up the ball, we had clean outings all the way up until the 9th. But trailing 4-5 in the 7th, Jackson Chourio, coming off a good defensive play, hit a home run. And then the next inning, I believe, Reese Hoskins had a 2-run home run. And then following that, Eric Haas hit his second home run of the game in the 9th inning. Other standouts from that game, kind of, I guess, is Sal Frelick, who was hitting 4th, which is interesting considering his slugging profile. Went 1 for 4 with a run. Like I said, Reese had that home run. He also had another hit and finished with a run and 2 RBIs. And Chourio was 2 for 4 with 2 run, 3 RBI, and a double in addition to that home run. And like I mentioned, Eric Haas had 2 home runs. He had an additional hit for 3 RBI and 2 runs. So good showing out of kind of a random group of players, I guess, especially Eric Haas. But finally doing what we all knew he would do after his spring training. I say that sarcastically. Monday, we faced Javier Assad in the Cubs. 3.1 out of Assad, who gave up 6 walks in those innings, but somehow we had 0 runs against him, which kind of foreshadows what ends up happening in this game. Tobias Myers pitched into the 6th, gave up 3 runs, but only 2 were earned. So that alone was more than we could dig ourselves out of. Willie Adames had a solo shot later in the game. Garrett Mitchell also had 2 hits, but that was not enough. We had 5 team hits, and we were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and that hit still didn't score a run because the only run was a solo homer. But yeah, I couldn't really believe in 3 1/3 he had 6 walks and we still didn't score. But I guess if you don't hit those guys in, you can't score. So lost that first game Monday, but then bounced back Tuesday. Colin Ray was Colin Raying. He, I believe, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, and 8 Ks, which isn't even Colin Raying. It's a little extra. He's not expected to do that. And then the bullpen performed well um, to keep that shutout going. And Bryce Terang had a RBI ground out to win the game, but he also went 1 for 2 with some walks and a steal. Jake Bowers was the game-winning run. He was 1 for 4. Jackson Chourio still was 2 for 4, and Garrett Mitchell also had a hit. We were up against a Dr. Hubble favorite, Mr. Tyon, and he was more of a Colin Ray in his outing. He went 7 1/3, 1 earned, 3 Ks. So not really striking guys out, but not giving up the damage, as I said. Both pitchers were had shutout performances, so pretty impressive. And I don't know if Ray went 5 or 6, but either way. And then that leads into today's game, which, like I said, we just finished up. It was 3-2, right?
Yep.
Yep, 3-2 win. In the 5th inning, there was a questionable call with Blake Perkins being called out on a caught stealing to second, where there was kind of an obstruction going on. And right before that, Joey Ortiz was rung up on a questionable pitch as well. So I was getting ready to start a narrative, but we took care of it in the 6th inning, so I didn't have to start the Brewers against the world narrative. Craig Counsell came in the game, yanked out his ace, Justin Steele, and guess what happened? Bryce Terang had an RBI single. And then I believe that tied the game. And we handed the ball to Jacob Junis, who I believe went 3 innings and kind of pitched in a high. Actually, no, that was a different game, I think. I don't think he went 3 today. Sorry.
Yep. No, you're right.
It was today. Yeah, yeah. So high leverage Junis, who then handed the ball off to Piamps, who eventually closed out a clean 1-2-3 inning after a Blake Perkins single in the top of 9 that led to him scoring on a William Contreras double. So always good to see Contreras kind of slowly heating back up too from what we were seeing in the first kind of portion of the season. And got another dub. Tuesday secured the season series over the Cubs, but this is just salt on the wound. So I guess according to your logic, back-to-back series over rivals, we got some wins here. So feels good coming out of the break, though.
Yeah. Just my 2 cents on the first few games back. Obviously, the Twin Series just kind of felt like the Chourio breakout, or what's kind of been an ongoing month-long breakout, kind of coming to an apex. But yeah, it was pretty awesome to see. He was making plays on both sides. He was hitting the ball hard, even with some of his outs. And yeah, it's just an exciting thing to kind of watch over the course of the season that unfold before our fans' eyes.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
people are
yeah,
starting to kind of freak out on Brewers Twitter about the breakout, and some of the
mhm.
I guess celebrity fans, specifically one Sam Decker, he was already tweeting. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of like just clearly watching a stud breakout and how happy that is, and to do that as a Brewers fan, which we haven't really had in a long time, I think, where we knew we had an absolute young stud. So, yeah, no, I agree. From the Twin series, that was the takeaway. And the other thing that was a takeaway was Carlos Santana came up in a big spot in the Sunday game after kind of doing well in the Saturday game, and it was just like I couldn't root against him. I didn't want him to do well, but I do love that guy, and he's really performed well. I think has outperformed what a lot of people thought he was capable of at his age. But no, it was a good
Yeah,
series. Twins are a good team.
yeah, Brewers legend Carlos Santana.
I'd agree.
But yeah, as far as the Cubs series go, the first game was one of those classic old. I feel like the Cubs have this genre of game where when they beat us, it's extremely excruciating innings on our end with leaving guys on. I think we had back-to-back innings where he left stranded, the bases loaded, with starting with less than 2 outs, and kind of going through the game where they're getting that luck on their side, and you get to the end and just can't pull it out in the end. But it was nice to see them turn around after that tough first one, especially with all the locks and stuff. from Assad. But
Yeah. Yeah, you can't complain coming out of a series like that, but it feels like all three games were kind of there, but at the same time, it seemed we could have easily lost, I guess, all three games. They were all um, obviously close games. So not a lot
yeah,
of
it was
scoring in the
interesting.
series either.
No, but it was interesting to hear Pat Murphy's comments. I believe it was after game two, where they had some of those
Yeah.
miscues from their young guys. Um, and you'd see the tweets come out from the reporters saying, "Oh, he pulled aside some of the young guys and basically called them out in the clubhouse, saying we got to do better than this. Some of the bunts, some of the ill-advised base running. I think it was Chourio, or maybe, yeah, I think it was Chourio on yesterday. But it almost seemed kind of on purpose that he did this during the media availability, almost in kind of his subtle way of just like making sure that people know
Yeah.
that he's kind of putting his foot down for this team." And to kind of get that narrative out into the open so that these guys are aware that people are watching and they're young guys, but they're expected to perform at the highest of levels. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I know one, I think, takeaway. Maybe you started a narrative yesterday in the group chat, but you mentioned something this team's starting to be known for a little bit, I think, is their bunting and some of that small ball. And I
yeah,
know you're just putting a little flag out there that you don't want to overuse the tool, I guess. I don't want to speak for you.
well, I'll put it this way: in the council era, we had a clear managerial, or maybe it was coming from the top. I don't know. Philosophy that bunting just wasn't the way. Pat Murphy clearly does not believe that. We've seen it. We've got guys that are good bunters. We've used it. In some cases, it's been awesome to watch because it's worked and it's scored runs in some cases and it's moved guys over and done what it's supposed to do. And that's baseball, and it's always been baseball. We're getting away from that now. The game's getting away from that now. But there's a time and a place to use it, and I think maybe we are stepping over that line. Maybe just a little bit. When we're bunting, I think it was a 3-0 bunt from, was it Terang the other day?
Maybe.
And seeing that, that's a little bit outrageous in my mind. That is not a situation, even when you have a good bunter up at the plate, you don't want to be doing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems like a common baseball IQ type of thing, but I'm okay with how it's been utilized most of the year to this point. But yeah, I don't want us to get away from. We have a good lineup, and we should be using those guys to do that.
Yeah. I think the problem, I guess, with a bunt, especially, is obviously you know what you're giving up basically at bat, right? So anytime it goes wrong, it looks really bad. Whereas your mind is starting to paint the picture that, come on, you just took the bat out of that guy's hand and he was about to score him on a double or something, where it's just really hard to say. I guess my one thing, and I don't disagree, you don't want to overuse it. But I do like if we can kind of continue to craft it. Um, in a playoff game or something, I want more as many guys as possible to be comfortable doing it because we saw last year, we had a successful season, right? We go into the playoffs, struggled to score runs, and I don't know, maybe being able to squeak an extra run or two out. It wouldn't have mattered in some of those games due to pitching, but it would help a lot in those moments. So if it loses us a game or two in the regular season because we are being under aggressive, I guess, by bunting. I don't know if that's more or less aggressive. It really depends on how you look at it. But um, I think that's the one place where I would like to continue to, I don't know. If we're good at that, it's just another tool in our tool set. But yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, you've got guys in your lineup that you're comfortable with bunting. Blake
Andrew
Perkins,
Monasterio.
no. The answer to that is no, because we saw it, and
Yep, yep.
I thought of this play exactly when we started talking about this bunting thing. It was the last game of the Pirates series where Skeens threw that gem, they pulled him, and then we had guys on immediately after he left. And then I think it was first and second no outs, and Monasterio looked ridiculous bunting on the
Yeah.
first two, and then
I
he
don't
swung
think
and
he's
missed on
ever
the last one
bunted
that
in
struck
his
out.
life.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. If you're asking guys to do things that they're not comfortable with, then that's where I definitely don't like the bunt. Um,
Yep.
But
Yep.
like Perkins or Terang, guys, Freelick, guys who've been doing it and are good at it. Yelich, actually a very good bunter. Not that I want him to be bunting every other time he's up, but
Might save his back if he takes a couple more bunts.
I
Does a
don't know.
couple
You're
less
leaning
hacks.
over and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah.
into that, I'm sure. But yeah, there's a time and a place, and there's guys specifically that I do want and don't want bunting, and that's I
Yep.
think the art of being a manager. So luckily we
Yep.
got a good one, and I trust him to make those decisions. But I think we're hopefully not getting too far away from the plot here.
Yep. Yep. So I don't have Scoop to transition me into my next segment, so I'm gonna go right into the hot hitter of the last 5 games.
Oh, stop dropping on fire, Ricky Bobby! I'm on fire! He's so hot right now.
Hot hitter of the week since we last talked. And Fangraphs doesn't update after the game, so I quick had to count stuff up, but I believe I did it right. If I don't think people will fact check if they're listening, so they'll just take this as the Bible.
You're not wrong.
Jackson
You're never
Chourio.
wrong.
That's true. Jackson Chourio is the kind of clear winner to me. So, um, as you, I guess, would have noticed when I read off the game logs, he was pretty good in all of them. Or had a mention. So 21 at bats, 9 hits, including a double and a homer, 3 run, 5 RBI, 2 steals. So kind of just doing it all and pretty consistently good throughout the week. And I think you could have guessed it would have been him after just the weekend, and he continued to look pretty good in the Cup Series. And then just want to give a little honorable mention to Willie Adames. He also had a pretty good week as well. And then I'm gonna jump right into the untouchable pitcher or pitchers of the week.
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
I like to try to give it to relievers, but when our starters go shutout, I can't not shout them out. So, kind of a tie here between Colin Ray and Freddy Peralta. Both of them had shutout outings with 8 strikeouts. I believe Colin Ray only went 5 and Freddie went 6, but Colin Ray won his outing. Freddie lost his outing. I don't really care about win-loss, but if I asked my
Yeah, win.
grandpa, he would care.
Well, win loss isn't a pitcher stat. It's just like
I don't
win
know.
loss not
I
being a
think it
quarterback
describes
stat.
Justin Steele pretty well. Justin Steele's win-loss is pretty reflective of his talent. I think he's like 1-4, 1-5 with like a 3 ERA. So that was sarcasm. But no, I agree.
Hopefully he's not listening.
Yeah. Well, he'd be pretty pissed, I'm sure. It looks like he's got gets a little angry, runs hot. No, I was in a discussion with some other buddies the other day, and someone was trying to make fun of, I think it was Nestor Cortez, and they referenced his win loss as like a reflection of how good he is. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to have this conversation if you're using win loss as a pitcher stat. But yeah, so those are the 2 weekly awards. And like I said, it's to me pretty clear cut for who deserved them. StatCast wise,
Baseball isn't just numbers. It's not science.
You sure about that?
I don't have super deep insights this week necessarily. Due to Jackson Chourio popping up in almost every game and my hot hitter of the week, I obviously clicked into his Baseball Savant page, and I would suggest everyone else to do that because it is quite good to look at currently between his fielding and running metrics and percentiles, and then mixing in that pretty high expected batting average and some of the other fun StatCast stats. So if you want to see a lot of red and get pretty excited, I'd go into Jackson Chourio. The other thing that I really like doing is in Baseball Savant, they have like the last 100 plate appearance trend of someone's expected weighted on base average. And Jackson's has been trending the right direction. He's real hot lately, as our eyes can tell us. And then the other thing that I thought was worth mentioning, StatCast wise, was I clicked into Mr. Koenig's outing on Monday, having him back from a forearm injury and his kind of recent velocity, I guess, surge in our org was worth looking at. And he got up to 97.7 in his outing on Monday against the Cubs, with his fastball or sinker all the way down to 93 miles an hour. But just the ability, I guess he's still there, able to pump it, and he's pitched, I think, twice since he's been back, and hasn't hasn't been a mention of anything popping back up yet. So hopefully he can stay healthy and keep pitching with the velocity that he's acquired since being in the org. Then I'll hop right into around the farm.
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids. If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
These are normally things Scoop handles, but you're gonna have to deal with me just reading Scoop's tweets that he found, basically. Eric Brown Jr. on July 20th had a career day. He had a double, 2 home runs, 4 runs, and 7 RBI in a game in Biloxi, I believe. So his year-long stats aren't great, but he's starting to flash a little bit of, I think, what the Brewers like in him, in addition to his athleticism. Obviously, the power is not his number one skill, but the 7 RBI game is worth a mention. And then there was a tweet from Javik, a friend of the pod, and it was about Brett Wichrowski, who in his last 4 starts has 19.2 innings pitched, a 1.37 ERA, only 5 walks in those 19.2, with 17 Ks and a 188 opponent batting average. So obviously he's been balling out. Another one, Luke Adams. I believe he is with the Timber Rattlers in high A. If I read the stats right, he's top 5 in all of minor league baseball in on base percentage at 434 and K rate at 10%. So, always good to see more prospects at the top of leaderboards, right? Especially with the trade deadline looming. And then wanted to shout out Luis Pena in the DSL All-Star game. He had a home run at a 104 exit velo. And he was top 5 in the DSL in on base percentage at 496 and first in stolen bases at 33, which leads me into a topic that Brew Crew Scoop tweeted out this week, and that is comparing a couple of the prospects that the Brewers had in this season's kind of DSL league compared to Jackson Chourio. So Jesus Mate, Luis Pena, and Juan Ortuno all had higher OPSs than Jackson Chourio. I'm not saying they're all going to be better than Jackson Chourio, but all 3 guys have kind of demonstrated some speed to mix in with. They all had really high averages and on base percentages. Yeah, like I said, they're all over 1 dotted. I'm not going to get into the exact numbers, but it's awesome to see literally 3 guys all over 1 dot in 30 games, 29 games, 27 games. So small-ish sample size, and we'll have some time, but I would not be surprised if whether one day we see them on the crew or if their name comes up in some of these discussions in the next week with the deadline around the corner. So just wanted to shout out those guys because that is quite impressive. Another guy that's over 1 dotted recently, Joey Weimer down in AAA. Get the word out. Joey Weimer. Joey Weimer. You might recognize the name from some web gems last year defensively, or a couple big bombs.
All-world defender.
Yeah. He's just like a golden retriever out there. He fetches everything. He's always got that big smile. He's got that blonde. He's got the locks. And he's back. He's hitting again.
Great clubhouse guy.
Definitely a great clubhouse guy.
Would fit right in on any clubhouse.
Yeah, especially clubhouses in like the bottom third of the league that are looking for like a little bit of that young talent combined with wanting to offload some major league ready talent.
Maybe like a pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you say Jack Flaherty? Yeah, maybe Jack Flaherty. Or your pitcher of choice, Mr. Freddy, I believe. Not
Still
Wop.
feel good about it.
Not Wop.
Actually, speaking of this, I did bring this up a couple of weeks ago at the end of one of my appearances, and I just recently saw The Athletic as their like mock trade for, they do 1 for every team, and Eric Fedde was the guy for the Brewers. So now I know that I'm wrong, but
so
okay.
Now we know you write for The Athletic.
Yeah. They aren't paying me enough. They're paying me what you guys are paying me.
Well, actually, you probably pay to read The Athletic.
I have no comment on that.
All right, yes, no comment. All right. Do not check Ryan Hubble as a subscriber of The Athletic is what you're trying to say. Got it. All right. Another one that Scoop normally picks out, but I found and I didn't know how much detail really to give or not. So I'm going to go through a pretty good amount of random game in Brewers history.
Random!
Which is also never random. If it was truly random, he would literally close his eyes, pick a year,
Oh,
pick a random game.
yeah.
So
those Cubs random games weren't totally random on the 3-day series of the Cubs.
yeah, so here's a random game of the Brewers against the Cubs. Opening day 2008, Milwaukee Brewers versus Chicago Cubs at Chicago Cubs. Brewers lineup, kind of a fun lineup, very nostalgic as you can imagine for us. Leadoff Ricky Weeks in the 2-hole, Tony Gwynn Jr. Batting third, Prince Fielder, fourth, Ryan Braun, fifth, Bill Hall, sixth, Corey Hart, seventh, JJ Hardy, eighth, Ben Sheets, ninth, Jason Kendall. Pretty awesome lineup. Not gonna lie.
8-9 flip, I love it.
Yep, pretty awesome lineup. And then I'm gonna read off the Cubs just because it is still kind of nostalgic. They had Ryan Theriot leading off. Alfonso Soriano in the 2-hole, Derek Lee 3, Kosuke Fukudome 4, Mark DeRosa, who I believe Kian likes, 5. Here's that 6. I'm gonna skip somebody. I don't care. Giovanni Soto, Felix Pie, and on the bump, Carlos Zambrano.
Whoa. PA.
Yeah, Felix PA. Long line of playing like 2K baseball, and I kind of liked his profile, but he was pie in my book. But yes, PA. Ben Sheets went 6 1/3, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, 0 earned, while Zambrano went 6 2/3 and gave up 3 hits, a walk, and 5 Ks. And then the Brewers relievers were Salomon Torres and Guillermo Mota. So 2 absolute legendary studs. And where it got fun was this game was 0-0 going into the 9th inning. Top of 9, Kerry Wood on the bump for the Cubs. Ricky Weeks got hit by a pitch. Tony Gwynn had a 2-strike sacrifice to move Ricky Weeks to second. Prince Fielder was intentionally walked. Ryan Braun singled, so Ricky Weeks scored on that. Bill Hall struck out looking, believe it or not. Corey Hart doubled, and Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun scored. And then we were up 3-0. Bottom of 9, Eric Gagne on the mound. Derek Lee singled, Aramis walked, and then Fukudome hit a 3-run homer. So tied it up in bottom of 9. 3-3 headed to the 10th. First batter, pinch hitting for Eric Gagne. 1, Craig Counsell, doubled. Jason Kendall had a sacrifice, and then Tony Gwynn Jr. had a sac fly to score Craig Counsell. So we're up 4-3. We go into the bottom of 10, and David Risky closed it out 1-2-3, and the Brewers got an opening day win in Chicago. Yeah, I kind of randomly, it was one of the first games I randomly looked at. I just looked at a year I kind of wanted to see, so like 2008. And very fun array of players there. So congrats, Craig Counsell, for beating the Chicago Cubs. You got a beer of the week?
He gets the...
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
Beer of the week. I don't know. Oh, I'm on a little bit of a dry spell, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, again, normally this is one Scoop dominates because he knows his beer. But just in case, for last week, I had one prepped. I was actually with you and Scoop at Third Space Brewing, and I had their Saison, I believe it's actually pronounced. I believe it's a French word. It is a dry, fruity, spicy brew, and I would agree. I like the Saison. It's like a farmhouse ale, they call it sometimes. Yeah, it's good beer. It's very kind of unique, so I like to have it when I see it.
I'm partial to the happy place of third space. It's another good one from there. We're plugging third space today. We will take sponsorships if anyone from third space is listening.
Yeah, specifically us two. And then him and Kian like that pineapple milkshake thing that they always talk about from Broken Bat. Have yet to try that one. If they send it to me, I'll drink it. But until then, I don't see the
Again,
day.
taking sponsorships. If they want to send us free beverages, we will plug them.
All right, so we have about just over 9 minutes on our free trial of Zoom here to finish this recording, and I refuse to do a second one without Brew Crew Scoop or Brew Crew Kian on the call. So we will try to pound out the rest of the call. I think the number one thing, which I'm going to hit really quick in roster moves, is what we will really like to talk about, and it's a certain Christian Yelich is back. So he went to the IL. Gary Sanchez activated. We're riding the 3 catchers for now with Eric Hosto on the roster. We also had a minor trade in the last week. Tyler J., a former first-round pick, who is now 30 years old and has yet to catch on in the majors, was acquired from the Mets, I believe, for TJ Shook. Jay sits about 91 with his fastball or sinker, throws an 88-mile-an-hour cutter and a slider that's around 80. Like I said, has yet to see success, but maybe the Brewers lab will get something cooking for him. And then Jared Koenig is back, like we mentioned, and we signed Braylon Payne and Blake Burke from the draft, our 2 kind of first-round selections. So those are kind of the main things. And then Devin Williams has been looking good in his rehab outings and appears to be right around the corner. But like I said, the main thing that jumps out and worries all Brewers fans is our best hitter is injured, something we have been plagued with since about, 2012, when Ryan Braun started pulling this on us, when he got off the
Since he
juice.
stopped the roids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. I mean, it's the first time we've heard Yelich talk about this back thing where it doesn't sound like he feels like he can manage it
Yeah.
day to day. Every other time it's been, okay, he's day to day. He might see a short IL stint. He had that medium stretch early in the season where he missed some time and he came back and he looked great again. Obviously, the All-Star break is a little bit puzzling to me to come right out of that.
Whoa, Ken Rosenthal just tweeted he may be out for a season, facing potential season-ending back surgery.
Yeah. In fairness, I'm not sure that that's new.
Yeah.
Unless this is coming straight from a specialist visit. But that was, I mean, it's been part of the discussion now is a surgery, and you figure any back surgery is going to put him out for the year. I mean, you wonder how the All-Star break affected him. He was there, he played.
Yeah.
But when you're really thinking about this kind of injury and how he's battled it, it makes you maybe back off that a little bit and thinking that, okay, maybe 3 or 4 days, the 2 extra days of rest, if he sits out of the All-Star break, does him some good. But this feels like something that's going to come around eventually for Yelich. So it's unfortunate. It sucks. I mean, we're in the thick of it right now. We're 6 games up. We have as good of a chance as we've had to keep that rolling, win the division, and make some noise in the playoffs. And here you are again with possibly Yelich missing another playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, we have Sal, we have Garrett Mitchell, we have Chourio and Blake Perkins, and Bowers and Haas, I guess, in a pinch. But I'm curious, I guess, if we get, I'm sure they'll get some news in the next couple days, and maybe we enter the chat for I don't know if Brent Rooker's really the answer because he doesn't really play defense, but another outfield bat or something, because for a while it seemed like that was maybe the spot we wouldn't necessarily add, but who knows, maybe that propels us to take a waiver on a rental or something. Hopefully not Kevin Pillar personally, but somebody. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this org too is it doesn't seem like the in-season injuries or kind of progression one way or the other like really rocks the boat as far as the approach to the deadline. I mean, we saw it with the Hader trade. That was a little bit of the extreme outlier there, where they just kind of put aside the fact that we were in the playoff hunt and sold our closer. But I don't think you'll see that. I don't think you'll see them trade like Adames or anything. But I don't think that you're going to see some wave made as far as like a Rooker trade or like Luis
Yeah,
Robert. I
I
don't think
think
you should be looking for that. I think, yeah, like you said, unfortunately, a name like Talar is probably more so up the alley of what the Brewers are about. Somebody that they're not going to have to trade the farm, but can maybe help us get over the hump or at least get to the finish line as division champs.
yeah, I think the other problem is, other than a handful of guys that wouldn't make sense in the long term, right? We just probably would want a guy with a year of control, if anything, and there's not a ton of that out there at the position. And then it would have to be a clear and obvious upgrade, which I don't know if we
See,
have. And
I don't even really agree with the fact that we couldn't just pick up a guy like that if
well, we
it was
might.
something that Orr wanted to, because I don't see. I mean, maybe it's early for somebody, specifically Mitchell, but Frelick, Perkins, their bats are not bats that I feel need to be in the lineup every day. If you can get a Rooker, I guess whatever, if he DHs half the time, plays a little bit of left field, by all means, I say you shoot that, because Sal Frelick is sub 700 OPS, and we've seen a pretty good sample size of him at this point. And maybe he'll
He's
slug
hitting
you.
275. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
I know.
he's a relatively good contact hitter, and if that's what you want in your lineup, if you want guys like that, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's somebody that's irreplaceable. So I could definitely, I think there's room. I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really just up to the org, but like you said, I don't see us trying to put our chips into a window for this year. It seems like before the year, that wasn't really the plan. It was kind of half the plan, and we're going to be competitive one way or the other. And I think worst case, it just gives probably mostly Garrett Mitchell and Frelick, and then Perkins will stay in his role, but Frelick and Chourio, those three, to really get a sample size, and the org can probably make a call on them too. But I don't know. You still got to hope that the back's okay.
Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario is he misses the rest of the year, obviously, and chips into his upcoming year, which you wonder with these serious back surgeries. But the silver lining is Haas gets a lifeline on the roster for a few more.
Yep.
But I think Pat Murphy pretty much summed it up. I don't know if it was today before the game or yesterday, basically saying, well, it doesn't sound like we're going to get Vlad Jr., so there's really not a guy out there that can
really
truly
changes.
replace what you have in Yelich. So
Yep.
it sucks, and it sucks to end the pod on that note, but there's still hope for this team, and we have the bats to stay afloat. Hopefully Arnold can put together a package and land somebody that really helps us to get to the end.
Yep. So I'll just power through some league-wide final thoughts and news, because you're being ER over there talking about Christian Yelich's back again.
Yeah, come on. Give us something good.
First of all, shout out Beltre, Joe Mauer, Jim Leland, and Todd Helton for the Hall of Fame inductions. It's always, I don't know, it's such a nostalgic place, Cooperstown. So I was thinking the other day we should probably send a trip up there.
We should. And I really hope that Jim Leland does the right thing and in his Hall of Fame bust picture has a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah,
those are iconic pictures.
That'd go hard. I saw Tom Brennaman is coming back to the booth for college football, which made me think of Mr. Castellanos, which made me think of what he did this weekend. So sports books are starting to be aware of his special powers, but if your sports book isn't, consider a bet the next time a tragedy or large news story happens.
Every single time.
Yep, every time. And then while I'm donning the reverse Rockies jersey, I don't know if you can really see it. Cal Quintrell today had the benches clear after yelling, "You jacked off in a effing parking lot, you dumb F," to Reese McGuire, which I forgot that he did that. It actually is a thing. So that's pretty awesome. Well, it's not awesome, but it's awesome. He yelled that. As long as Scoop's not here, I just want to, Keston, rest in peace to your major league career, possibly. We're a fan, and we'll always root for you, Keston. Yeah, I think that's it. I tried to power through those there. We are a pro Keston pod, though.
Yep, we're going down with this ship, Keston. So if you're listening, maybe or maybe you aren't. We love you.